Hi guys, welcome to Miss Viss's Kitchen. Today we're going to start with something that only requires one ingredient, an apple. So you can do this at your house. You also will need a sharp knife. Chef's knife is great. You could probably do it with a paring knife. And I also have 2 butter knives and a cutting board. So today I'm going to show you how to make a swan out of an apple. So what you need to do first is cut your apple in half, but you're not going to cut it directly down the center so that it's symmetrical. So you're going to take the apple and sort of cut it along this line. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so now I have 2 halves. I have this half that has the stem on it and this side that has like the bottom of the apple. So I'm gonna use this side for my swan and hopefully it's big enough. You might wanna cut this half a bit bigger. I made it pretty small, so we'll see how it goes. What I like to do is I like to put my knives down on either side of my apple. And then I'm going to cut not quite down the middle, but a little bit to the side, just down to the handles on my knife, on my 2 knives here. So there, I cut through, but not all the way through. And now I'm gonna come from the sides and cut towards my other cut really carefully because I don't wanna cut these fingers. So I'm gonna hold them up nice and high. I'm just gonna work this knife through. You only have to do 2 cuts like this in the whole time. And then the rest of the time is a lot easier. So now I have that chunk cut out, and now I'm gonna do the same thing on this piece. So I'm gonna lay it between my knives, and I can see here that I have about maybe like a 1/2 centimeter thickness. So I'm gonna go for the 1/2 centimeter thickness on my cuts here too. So I'll go 1/2 centimeter from the edge. I'll cut down just to the knife handles, and then instead of cutting from the side, I'm gonna flip this over and then cut down on this side as well, about 1/2 centimeter away, just to my knife handles. And now this piece should slide out. So now I have an even smaller piece. So I'm gonna do the same thing again. Sometimes you can get 2, sometimes you can get 3. I'm gonna have a really small final piece, but it should be fun. Great, so now, if you can see here, I can slide these pieces down and then we have the wings started. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do that on the other side, and then we'll have to figure out how to do the head. So I'm gonna cut again, not quite near the middle, but just a little bit off center, down to the handles. Here I'm gonna cut carefully towards the other cut, along the knife handles. Just wiggle the knife a little bit until it's free. I guess this is what we do if you're eating lots of food during quarantine, and maybe you just need to spend more time making food so you don't eat as much. I don't know. So here we go. I'm just cutting my last one here. Hopefully it comes out. Oh, it kind of missed. There we go. Okay, now I have kind of a puzzle here happening, so let's see if it works. So if I put this all together, oh, that one's backwards. So you can see my apple, there's my apple, and then to make the wings, this bottom part is gonna be the butt. We're not gonna focus on that. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna slide the wings back towards the butt. So you're gonna slide these pieces down, starting with the biggest one, you'll slide it down, and then you'll slide the next one down. And then this little guy can slide down as well. And you'll do that on both sides. So we have this kind of symmetrical looking, well, swan body. Okay, so it looks pretty cool. Now what we have to do is we have to do the head. So now you're gonna take the other piece of your apple and you're going to cut lengthwise again, but this time so I have the flat end against my hand, and I'm going to cut down across because I want this beautiful shape here, kind of the heart shape. So it's here as well. If I were to cut off a little bit of this. Anyways, I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm going to cut one more slice this way, just really carefully. Okay, so now I have this heart shape, which is what I want, and this is going to be the nose right here, and then it's going to kind of go back and down. So I have to make those cuts. Okay, so I cut that, so now I have what kind of looks like a head here, okay? So I'm actually gonna cut this bottom piece off too. So now it's kind of like this. And now I need to make a space in the body right here for this head to go. My head's a little bit thick, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put some cuts in the front here. Just really gently. If you want to use a paring knife because you're more comfortable with that, you can do that. Just gonna kind of cut slits so that I kind of beat up this part of the apple because it's a little bit tricky to cut out the right size piece. But if you do, I'm gonna be impressed, so go for it. Okay, so now I've kind of split this up a bunch, and now what I'm gonna try do, I'm actually gonna try rip some of these pieces out a little bit. There we go. I don't know if you can see this very well, but I'm just taking these pieces out. So now I have this gap here in the front of my apple. I'm gonna try to stick the head in there. And my head is still a little bit wide, but can maybe jam it in there. So now I have a little swan. And now if you want to add some finishing touches, you could add a little eyeball by taking these seeds out of your apple. Got one, let's see if I can find another one. Here we go. You can just like jam them in here a little bit, so you kind of want the corner of the eye going back. Just pinch it in there. I'll put one on the other side. Oh boy, they're kind of slippery. You don't get to see this one, and then if I do a bad job, then you can't tell. Okay, it looks fine. If you are wanting something to eat that's more exciting than an apple, you can always make some apple nachos. So this takes more ingredients than just an apple, but you could take some slices of apple and just lay them out on a plate. Then you can melt some peanut butter or almond butter, sprinkle that on top. My almond butter is really runny, so I can just drizzle some of that on anyways. Just drizzle it across. You could add some chocolate chips, or you could add some craisins, a little bit of granola. It's always good on there. You can put that on top. I had a little bit of a wing fall off in the almond butter there. And there you go. You have your fancy apple snack.